Welcome. In a moment, we'll do a breath awareness practice. We'll be attending to the sensations of the breath flowing through the body, breath awareness. Could call it a body awareness practice, attending to the sensations in the body as the breath flows in and out, two sides of the same coin. Could call it a focused attention practice, especially if the intention is to focus attention on those sensations, and when we notice our mind wandering, to return to those sensations. That noticing the mind wandering is a very interesting moment because somehow there's this awareness of the activity of the mind that triggers a realization that we've left the sensations of the body breath and wandered away almost unaware, and then somehow became aware of doing so. For this practice, we'll be especially interested in terms of our intention on what's arising around, so to speak, in between, so to speak, the moments where we are attending to the sensations of the breath, which is the primary object of our attention for this practice. So even as I'm speaking to you, around you there are many things that you could be looking at and attending to as the primary object of your attention. But it's not, and they're not likely to be the primary object because the primary object of your attention now is on this voice or on me speaking and what I'm saying. Still, all that's around you is in your awareness. It just has a very low level of input or a low level of processing. So it's there, and then if you looked at something in particular, you begin to perceive it with greater granularity. This is also taking place not with the sights and the visual objects around, objects that we can attend to visually, but also sounds. There's sounds coming and going along with this voice, but you're primarily directing your attention and holding on to some extent to this voice. And then because you are processing what I'm saying, just as there's what's out there visually, or to be taken in visually, and through the ears, auditorily, and through olfactory sensations, tactile sensations. You're also taking in the sensations of what you're sitting on, as well as seeing what's around you, but all of this is in the periphery. It's in the background for the most part. So too, internally, we have thoughts and feelings, and they too are there. But our primary object of attention is this voice, me, if you're seeing me, and in a moment it will be the breath. And so with this beginning consideration that there's so much in awareness, so much around the object of attention that could pull our attention away. If, for example, something in front of you that's just a candle or a book were to begin to vibrate for some reason, that would pull your attention away, and for all the obvious reasons. It's good to have the ability to have your attention shifting in a direction that might be rather important without your choosing to do so. And there we have the very interesting interplay between where you choose to attend and where a part of your, we could say, survival instinct or larger capacity to be present for the fullness of your experience is, notwithstanding your intention, directing you elsewhere. But for these 5 minutes of this practice, where I'm not going to say much at all, except guiding us in and leading us out, we'll be resting our attention on the sensations of the breath. And with all of this stuff in the periphery, out there and in here, we will be nudged periodically, especially as the settling into the breath becomes almost habitual. It's like we've done this for so long. We've been breathing for a lifetime. There's not a lot going on with this breath, and it really creates a ripe opportunity for thoughts and feelings or things happening around you to pull your attention away. And here's the key for today. In between attending where you choose and somehow being pulled away, there's sort of a moment to moment to moment fluctuation in where your attention is. So that, let's say for this breath, let's take one breath slowly and fully and a little bit more deeply. One breath on your own. Your experience of that breath might be as a primary takeaway, I was attending to the sensations of the breath. And it may very well be that that is where most of your attention was for the duration of that breath. But it's highly likely, I'll suggest, and this is for you to explore, that during that breath, it was to some extent a few moments here, a few moments there. It was somewhere else. But it was so subtle, and it was such a small proportion of the duration of that breath, where your intention was to stay with the breath, that the primary takeaway was, I was pretty much there for the breath. Now, you do this for a longer period of time, and of course that's the practice of attending to the breath, and those moments of being elsewhere not only continue, and we can notice that. We can notice the internal sort of tug through our capacity to be aware of where our mind is, so to speak, in addition to attending to an object in particular, so that we can steady and stabilize our attention as we choose, because we're sort of course correcting, nudging ourselves back as we go. And so the longer the duration of our practice, not only are we going to continue to have these little peppered moments of being elsewhere, we're beginning to slip away or being momentarily tugged, but we're also going to have periods where those grow in duration because we're sort of doing the same old thing, and we can call that being bored or getting restless, or our attention isn't quite as engaged, which is why the practice can help us deepen and enrich the vividness of our experience when we are attending to something, which, if it's the breath, can be a satisfying feeling, but if it's what somebody's saying or something we're reading, it can be a more fuller engagement and taking in of that information. And this is why this is a practice that is useful for noticing mind wandering and developing our capacity not only to stay focused, but to enrich the quality of the data that we take in, the information we take in, through the concentrating of our attention where we choose. So, with that overview, let us do a 5-minute breath awareness, focused attention practice. I'll only speak at the beginning and the end, and use this as an opportunity to anchor your attention around the breath and be there for the show. So we bring ourselves to a posture that's upright and stable. As we lower or close our eyes, whichever you prefer, and for this practice, if you keep them open, there'll be more to that show. But even if you close them, there'll be a great deal going on in the show. Attending to the sensations of the body sitting, the body moving with the breath, taking a few slower, deeper breaths, allowing the breath to resume its natural pacing and rhythm as you attend to the sensations of the breath with the intention to stay there, to attend to the intention to stay there when you find yourself wandering, and to not miss the show. And when you're ready, in the next moment or two, lifting the gaze, opening the eyes. And even though this formal practice period has come to an end, the show continues on. Enjoy the show.